Ramadan is coming up soon and I have been receiving many questions about how to approach fitness during this month. So to help those participating in Ramadan, in this video I will show you how you can manage your fitness. Ramadan is a month in which Muslims fast from the break of dawn to sunset. This is a food and water fast. Even though you are fasting for the bigger part of the day, there are still great opportunities to improve your fitness during Ramadan. In fact, every year I coach many clients that go through Ramadan and we're still able to take steps forward in our training and fat loss progress. I participate in Ramadan myself as well, so I will be sharing my learning lessons and also what the research shows about how we can maximize your fitness during this month. First, let's cover a common concern that people have during Ramadan, and that is that they will lose muscle. Depending on where you live, you might have a 14 to 18-hour fasting window. But despite this relatively long fasting window, you can definitely still at least maintain muscle during Ramadan if you have the basics in place. Ramadan fasting looks a lot like the dieting concept of intermittent fasting. We know from research that fasting for 16 hours in a day does not cause muscle loss as long as you make sure you consume adequate calories and protein in your feeding window and also train with weights. Now, of course, Ramadan is a bit different than intermittent fasting because it also involves a water fast, but even if we look at research directly investigating Ramadan, we see that you can effectively maintain and in some cases even build muscle during this month. The way you structure your training and nutrition during Ramadan will of course have a large impact on your ability to maintain muscle and lose fat. So let's look into how I suggest most people approach their Ramadan fitness. Let's first start with the training side of things, and a common question here is whether you should train before or after Iftar. If we look at the research done on this topic, we see that fat loss and muscle growth results are the same between fasted and fed training sessions during Ramadan, as long as your nutrition during the feeding window provides enough calories, protein, and hydration. This is great news because it provides flexibility. If you're able to train after Iftar in the evening, then you can make that happen. But if during the evenings you cannot train because you have family events and the Tarawih prayer, then doing your workout 60 to 90 minutes before Iftar is just as effective. If you train fasted, I do recommend to have that workout very close to Iftar time so that after your workout you can replenish your body with good food and hydration. Now, if you have full flexibility in your schedule, I would still lean towards preferably training after Iftar. Since after Iftar you will be able to drink water during your workout, you will likely also be able to perform better. We know from research that slight dehydration can negatively impact strength performance. So if you feel low in energy when training during the fasting window, it's wise to reserve your workout for after Iftar. Next to when you should be training, let's also look into how your workouts may be structured differently during Ramadan. Because of the absence of water intake during daylight, slightly decreasing your training intensity and training in somewhat higher rep ranges makes sense during Ramadan. When you train in a less hydrated state, the injury risk during training is increased, so we want to avoid training with 1 rep maxes or very low rep ranges on our compound movements during Ramadan. Training mostly in an 8 to 15 rep range is what I would suggest. This is a pretty low risk rep range in which you use moderate weights. With that said, you can still push yourself in these sets of 8 to 15 repetitions. Especially if you train after Iftar with water, your energy levels during training should be comparable as normal. If you train in a fasted state during Ramadan, there is research to suggest that it's wise to decrease your training volume by 25%. So if you normally train each muscle group with about 16 sets per week, then during your Ramadan workouts you can bring back your training volume to 12 sets per muscle group per week. But all in all about training, if you maintain your consistency in the gym, you don't have to worry about muscle loss and can even progress your gains. Now back to the nutrition side of things, during Ramadan you will basically be intermittent fasting, which provides good opportunities for you to lose some extra body fat. We know from research that most people maintain a lower calorie intake during Ramadan due to the smaller eating window. So it's typically easier to maintain a calorie deficit for fat loss. That's why I see Ramadan as a 4-week period in which I can have a mini cut. By maintaining a moderate calorie deficit and consuming enough daily protein, you will be able to lose some fat while maintaining muscle, especially if you keep up your strength training efforts. I would suggest maintaining a 20% calorie deficit during Ramadan. So if you know that you maintain your weight at about 2,500 calories per day, consume around 2,000 calories per day during Ramadan to lose some extra body fat. And keep your protein intake at a minimum of 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight to promote muscle recovery and maintenance. Of course, during Ramadan, there may also be days in which you have family events and you can't accurately track your calorie intake, but that's okay. We want to focus on consistency over perfection. A few more flexible days during Ramadan won't make or break your progress. There are also some nutritional considerations during Ramadan from a meal timing perspective. These considerations are related to your iftar and suhoor meals. Typically, meal timing is not that important. But if you have a narrow feeding window, then you can improve your body's performance by feeding it the right nutrients at the right time. Specifically, during iftar, we want to break our fast with a fast-acting protein and carbohydrate source. After 14 to 18 hours of fasting and potentially even a workout right before your fast, you can improve your body's recovery capacity if you provide fast-acting carbohydrate and protein sources. I personally break my fast with a whey protein shake and a couple of dates, and the iftar meal will follow after that. The whey protein is a well-known fast-absorbing protein source, while the dates provide good natural sugars that will help you resynthesize muscle glycogen. About suhoor, which is the last meal of your feeding window, here we actually want to do the opposite and maintain more slow-absorbing protein and carbohydrate sources. At the end of your feeding window, having slow-absorbing protein and carbs will help you feel more energized the next day. The morning after a good suhoor meal will typically be more tolerable because your body is still absorbing some of the nutrients that you consumed, and you typically will still feel some satisfaction from those slow-absorbing protein and carbohydrate sources. Having something like eggs, Greek yogurt, beef, or chicken are great slow-absorbing protein sources that you can use. For carbohydrates, aiming to have complex carbohydrates like whole grain foods or legumes is helpful. So with iftar, we want to break our fast with fast-absorbing foods, while with suhoor, we want to have more slow-absorbing foods. In the middle of your eating window during Ramadan, you can have a second meal or a protein snack with fruits to help you reach your calories and proteins target. Just make sure to also consider your hydration during Ramadan. Especially if you live in a warm environment, we tend to lose quite a bit of water during the fasting window and during our workouts. So keep a water bottle at hand during your feeding window. Most adults should aim to drink at least 1.5 to 2 liters of water during their feeding window. You can also choose to eat more fruits that are high in water content as a snack in between your meals. Think about foods like watermelon, strawberries, and oranges. This way, you also get your daily recommended portions of fruit, which will provide vitamins and minerals we need to nourish the body. So if we sum up this video, there are a few key points we want to consider. First, muscle loss does not have to be a concern during Ramadan. You can even improve your fitness if you structure your training and nutrition well. When it comes to training, you can train before or after iftar, both work. But I typically would suggest training after iftar to be able to hydrate during your workout. About workout design, aim to train mostly in an 8 to 15 rep range and avoid heavy 1-rep maxes to lower injury risk. With nutrition, you can see Ramadan as an opportunity for a 4-week mini-cut. Maintain a 20% calorie deficit and somewhat elevated protein intake to lose fat while maintaining muscle. And also, prioritize your hydration during the feeding window to prevent staying in a dehydrated state. If you consider these points, then Ramadan will be a great fitness month for you and you don't have to worry about losing progress. And that was all for today's video. I hope you now have a better idea of how you can approach your training and nutrition during Ramadan. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, if you found this video helpful, then leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you in that next video.